Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 2022 program series, Living Well Wednesday. My name is Cassidy Lutz. I'm the Family and Community Wellness Agent in Greenwood County, and I will be serving as your host for today. So our Living Well Wednesday is a virtual learning series hosted by K-State Research and Extension family and consumer science professionals from across the state of Kansas. Many of our topics will touch on a wide variety of essential skills that empower you and your families to live, work, and thrive. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping rules. First, be respectful and open of others throughout the entire presentation. Next, feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box and comments into the chat box. The Q&A box does have a feature that allows you to ask anonymously if you're more comfortable with that option. We will have some agents monitoring that, and we will be answering questions at the end of the presentation today. Today's session will be recorded and posted to our Living Well Wednesdays webpage, along with additional resources. You'll be able to find all future and past programs on our websites as well, and you can see the link there on the screen. Lastly, a friendly reminder, our Living Well Wednesday series will discuss a new topic every second and fourth Wednesday. Be sure to check out our website for additional details on registration and topics coming up. Next slide, please, Sherilyn.
I'm trying, my computer's stuck.
All right, well, we'll just go ahead. We want to acknowledge that KSRE is an equal opportunity employer. Therefore, we do not discriminate against anyone. So if there's a special request or concern that you need to allow for you to attend our programs, please reach out and let us know. So we want to thank our presenters for joining us today. We have Elizabeth Kiss, who is a professor of personal financial planning and extension specialist. And we also have Joy Miller, who is the family and consumer wellness agent in Johnson County. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to your presenters.
Thank you, Cassidy, and welcome everyone. It's great to be here with you. We did put a couple of things in the chat, so if you just joined us or if you're still thinking about it, we would love for you to put in the chat what makes the holidays special for you. And so we can, because while we're talking about simplifying, one way to do that is really think about what makes things special for you. And then another item, please, if you could take a minute quickly, either open a document on your computer or gather like a writing utensil and some paper. It can be scrap paper. It doesn't have, you're obviously not going to do anything with it. It's for yourself. You will do something with it, but it's for yourself. So I'm Elizabeth Kish, and we're really here to talk about simplifying for the holidays. And it's November, so hopefully people aren't in too big of a panic yet. And so it's a really good time to step back, take this hour today and maybe a little bit of time after today and do some planning. Joy, do you want to say hi?
Hello, I'm Joy Miller, Family and Consumer Science from Johnson County, co-presenting with Dr. Kish today.
Great. So the holiday season can be a time of peace, but it can also be really hectic. And so when we think about the holiday season, are you looking forward to it? Or are you starting to dread it? And when we think about dreading it, there's obviously the time, the energy, maybe the money involved, the family communication that's involved with that. And, you know, we talk about the holidays. So there's really quite a few holidays between now and the end of the year. And you may celebrate some of them, you may celebrate all of them. And maybe that's part of your simplification. Maybe you'll go big on one or two but still recognize others and but take a more measured approach. So we're getting some really good things in the chat. Thank you all. Looks like spending time with family is kind of a popular thing to do over the holidays, and isn't that great? Although, as we say, families are nice until but they can also be stressful, right? So recent surveys have shown, though, that 91% of consumers in the US do plan to celebrate the winter holidays, and this is data from October. And 55% of US respondents did say that they're excited about holiday shopping and have savings to spend. You know, the last few years, I mean, I think this is not necessarily our first post-COVID holiday, but somehow it does almost feel that way. Things have been different in 2022, certainly than they were in 2021. So people are excited to spend, and actually over half of the respondents in these surveys have said that they already started shopping in October. And I know I was surprised to see, I went to the store on November 1st, and they had already switched out the Halloween items for the next holidays. And so that was already coming up. Joy, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide. So one of the things we'd really like for you to think about today and challenge yourself is to really understand what makes the holidays special for you. And for some people, it is spending time with friends, family, spending time in your community. For others, it's baking and the meals, entertaining. For some, it's gift giving and volunteering. And then obviously for many of us, it can be our faith traditions. And so while we won't ask you in more detail than we did already in the chat, really think about what is it that makes the holidays a special time for you. And if you can, then when things start to get stressful, you can bring yourself back to that recognition of what makes the holidays special. And that's kind of like, why are you doing all this, right? Otherwise, it can feel like a lot of busy work that no one's appreciating. And so just keep thinking about what makes it special. Do you want to go ahead? Next slide. So this is where you might want to use pencil and paper or a document on your computer. What we'd like you to do, there's 10 items here, and rate these from 1 to 10, with 1 being what makes the holiday most special to you, to 10 be, least important to you. And it doesn't mean that maybe they're all important, but they can't all be equally important. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a couple minutes. I'm going to watch the clock on my computer, and at 12:25 we'll ask you to come back. Now, we won't ask you to share how you rate your holiday values, but we do want you to have the time and the space without talking to do that. So I will mute my microphone, and we'll come back at 12:25. So go ahead and wrap that up. And just as a reminder, you will have access to the slides, so you can go back and look at it again. So if you want to go to the next slide, Joy. As you think about the holidays, then we'd like you to also reflect on what are the most special activities that you enjoy the most. And so if you could take a minute and think about the holiday tradition, event, task, or activity that you get the most satisfaction from. So it may not be necessarily, although it could be the same thing that you get the most enjoyment from, but it could be the thing you get the most satisfaction from. And maybe it's if you celebrate with the Christmas tree, maybe it's taking the Christmas tree down on New Year's Day or something, but whatever you get the most satisfaction from. And then think about, of all the holiday activities that you tend to engage in, what is the one that you dread the most? And we won't necessarily ask you to share. This is all for you to think about, because as we celebrate holidays, it's all very personal and very much within our families and our communities. So think about, what do you get the most satisfaction with, and what do you dread the most? And we'll just let you keep thinking about that as we go on. Go ahead, Joy.
Okay. So our next topic in this is to be wary of becoming that holiday perfectionist. So most of us look forward to this time of the year. We find it exciting. We have, this picture in our head of perfect peace and joy and love. But however, often we overwhelm ourselves, or things come up, then we get tired and suddenly things become too much to do. And maybe it affects how we feel, or how happy we think this season should be. So just some tips in this is to make a list and check it twice. So right now is kind of the opportunity time to think through all the things you must do, the extra activities or events, and then the things you would like to do during the holiday season. So as I kind of flash back through different times of my life when my child was younger and getting older, we had holiday programs through school. My son played a lot of basketball games on weekends, and going into high school again, we had band concerts. So lots of little things can add up in that schedule quickly during this time. And when thinking about that list of to-dos and activities, one is the activities with your family and friends, your faith-based, and your community. And then the other is all the organization, the food preparation and housekeeping chores that often are associated with the holidays. The next one is just gift giving and expectations. And we should really recognize and accept that we do have some limitations, whether that's the energy and the ability to get out and shop, or to purchase something for everybody. But there's also, it's very much a giving season. So not just gift giving to people, but is there charities? And sometimes this is when we focus on giving extra money as tips or bonuses, maybe to the hairdresser or to the waitress that at the restaurant you're eating at, or even if you hire babysitters, giving them extra during this time. And it's also a time to set some realistic expectations with children on gifts. So during the Thanksgiving time is a great time to ask them, what was their favorite gift from last year? Or if, you have a dollar amount set, that maybe you ask them, if you had this much money, what would be a great gift to buy with those limitations? And making that list of who you're going to buy for and deciding how much to spend on them can help you set some boundaries from the get-go with that. The next one is just delegating, asking others to help you plan the holidays and those to-dos. So you might have a family meeting and get people to volunteer for various activities, whether it's putting up the decorations, cleaning, shopping for those gifts, baking cookies, wrapping gifts, writing cards, and then creating a checklist with the time goals for when those assignments or activities should be completed by. So if everybody kind of knows what's expected and when to be completed, that can relieve some of that stress for you. And if nobody volunteers for any of those activities, maybe it's an item to be skipped. So this just helps people being passive recipients of your labor to be active participants in the gift of joy. during the holiday seasons. And last, this word will probably come up often, is just prioritize activities and keeping the demands on your time, energy, emotions, and your wallet to a minimum. So again, Elizabeth kind of led you in some activities to help clearly identify some of your top priorities. And then that might allow you to let some of those other priorities go that don't mean as much. So, you know, we might have to choose between a cleaning project, like cleaning out the hallway closet, or are we going to go see Christmas lights with our family? And it is okay to pass up on activities if you're not feeling up to it, or under your circumstances at the time, they aren't your norm. So it's always okay to say no. The next thing is maintaining your normal routine as much as possible. So the holidays, while they can be fun and exciting, they can be stressful too. And that's can be because we take a break from our normal routines. And so maintaining a normal routine helps us have that sense of control that we're used to. But some of the things that might get out of sync are, you know, your eating patterns, your exercise, and even your sleep routine. So those extra activities, the holiday meals and the parties can disrupt all of that. And even travel can be a part of that. So those are always things to think about with your daily routines. So of course, trying to stick to your daily routines, trying to keep a normal schedule as much as possible. And then children also do better with consistency in the daily routines. So the more out of routine you are, children may feel more out of sorts. You may have more meltdowns with them. And so being conscious about, you know, trying to keep their bedtime rituals the same, maybe allowing a little extra time to answer questions children might have during this time. And also just calming down from all the excitement for them are things to consider. Next is just that calendar of events and activities. So knowing when you have commitments can help prioritize what needs to be done when, and help you prepare ahead of time for those busy nights and weekends. So putting that down on paper for everyone to see can be helpful. And then you can look at your holiday to-do list and figure out how much time you need to accomplish things, or project when you're going to fit that into your schedule. And the last is getting organized to be sure you have everything on hand. So this might be getting your gift wrapping supplies in place, you know, your food pantry stocked. Maybe that's doing some ahead of time meal prepping, whether that's freezer meals or cooking once so you can eat twice, or just even having a stock of paper goods for easy cleanup after a meal with that. And part of keeping this, your routine as normal as possible, maybe just as you're creating your to-do list and your schedule, is to plan backwards. So you can accomplish more when you schedule a little bit of time to get things done. And so looking at that list, deciding when things needs to be done, so that you have your gifts ready, your shopping's done, you know, your packages or cards are ready to be mailed, and you're well prepared for any parties that you have responsibilities for. So again, deciding how long it will take and how much time you're willing to spend on it are some deciding factors. And so then you can work backwards from your deadline. So some of you might need to be starting probably November 1, which we're past, but maybe you can wait till December 10th to begin your preparations. But it'll help you give a timeline and space out what you need to be doing and when. Elizabeth?
So another way to get through the holidays is to give yourself the gift of self-care. You're probably giving lots of of yourself to other people or other organizations, but think about taking care of yourself. And so if you could type in the chat how you take care of yourselves during the holiday season, that'd be great. You can give everyone ideas. Some ideas obviously are to reflect and rejuvenate, however that works for you. For me, that involves reading, but play and then rest, take care of yourself. As Joy mentioned, with holiday travel and all the scheduling things, you could get really frazzled. And I suspect that some of us will cut down on their own sleep. So, self-care could be giving yourself 7 hours or 8 hours of sleep, or maybe 6, whatever your goal is. Enjoy quiet and or active activities, a combination of the two, and then just really be aware of the stress that you're feeling and give yourself the opportunity to do whatever practices you normally do to alleviate the stress. Or if this is a different kind of stress, think about new practices that could help. I see in the chat, take breaks, do something relaxing. Thank you. Continue to exercise regularly. Watch a Hallmark movie. Yeah, that can be good. Or if you're baking, maybe sample the baked goods. But really, if you don't take care of yourself, think about back to what you really enjoyed most about the holidays and then what you dread. And if you still can't delegate what you dread, or if you can't minimize it or figure out a way to make it less dreadful, then really take care of yourself so that it doesn't become such a drag on you. Go ahead.
Sorry, it delays a little. So our next one is just looking at family rituals. Traditions can be very fun and meaningful ways to celebrate holiday season. So a lot of you mentioned like playing board games in the chat. That's one of our traditions that I always look forward to. But you might be spending lots of time and energy on traditions with family and friends that maybe aren't as valued as they used to be. People might not notice them or find them very important. So this Thanksgiving, again, is a time to review that with friends and family about what's your ongoing traditions, and they can help you prioritize, eliminate, or even create new ones. So, when you ask the questions, you might find out that they don't like a particular tradition. They forget you do it at all. They may not really care, or what really matters is already happening, but you might not be realizing it. So just asking a few questions will help reinforce those ones that are meaningful and ones that you might try out as new. And always, keeping your rituals simple. They don't have to be elaborate, or So often when kids are asked, they enjoy putting the Christmas ornaments on the tree, or decorating cookies, or just going and seeing Christmas lights. And then the other thing is, if you have activities that are part of your family rituals or something you want to try, is to set those priorities in there. So again, with family, whether it's volunteering or something charitable, if you don't make those priorities and plan them into your holiday schedule, the likelihood is you won't find the time later when you think about it.
So now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of talking about spending money as opposed to time and energy. So here's a list of a lot of items that you might consider actually budgeting for. And I know some of us, we think about how much we're going to spend on big gifts, or we know how much we typically spend on cards and postage, but there's, as you can see, so many other types of items. So I wonder if you could type in the chat, excuse me, I'm going to have to cough. if you could type in the chat any other items that you spend money on during the holidays that you either do budget for or wish you would budget for. And also Joy put in a link to a holiday spending plan that you might want to check out too. I'm just noticing, so no one has any other items? This is a pretty comprehensive list, I agree, but certainly somebody might have some other thing. And when you think about travel, you know, it's not just, maybe it's airfare, but it can also be the travel to do the errands, to buy things, to buy the gifts, to go grocery shopping. Yeah, Caroline put family photos. I think family pictures are in there, but definitely maybe the printing, it depends how you think about it. Yeah, gas money. Exactly. So, and one of the things, food pantry drives, school fundraisers, yes. So that may be under charitable contributions, but the specifics are really helpful. So I think one thing to really keep in mind is don't let the financial pressures rob you of the things that are most important to you. And those are, you know, how you identified your values and the things that you get the most enjoyment from, right? And it may be that many of those things that you get the most enjoyment from don't actually cost the most. So think about that as well, is how much of the spending that you're doing actually contributes to the things that you and your family enjoy the most. And maybe if it feels like it's a little bit out of balance, you could work on some of those things. And there are, you know, some of these hidden expenses as well. And I don't know if anyone ever said like work parties. I don't know what your traditions are for celebrating holidays at work, but that can be one as well. So again, set realistic expectations, and it can be hard, especially if you haven't kept records from year to year, or you don't really have a great idea how much you tend to spend. But I think, and if you want to go to the next slide, is when we actually talk about how you're going to spend. Think about, you know, how will you spend? Are you only going to use cash? Will you use, if you're going to use credit for convenience or otherwise, maybe just use one credit card so you can keep it all in one place, so that then next year you'll know how much you tend to spend on the holidays, or at least how much you spent this year. Keep your receipts. You know, mistakes happen, so you want to verify that you got charged the right amount, but also returns, or if something turns out to be poor quality and you want to return it or exchange it. If you keep your spending plan / list with you, then as you're out and about, maybe you can combine errands, or you can, you'll recognize if you see a good deal. Comparison shop, use coupons, all of those things. If there are still garage sales happening or online buying, you can look at those things. Seasonal work or working extra hours if you're afraid that the income and the expenses aren't going to balance. And then remember the gifts of time, service, talents, and heart. And again, some of those can be the most rewarding gifts that you can give. And so think about how that fits into the mix of your holiday activities as well.
Oops. Okay. I'm trying to put up a poll. I lost it.
And Val Edwards makes a good point about store return policies, and some of them do actually extend their policies for more flexibility, but also in recent times, some have gotten more narrow. So I think it will be really important to understand these return policies. Do you want me to look, or did you find it?
I got it. I finally found it.
Okay,
I
good.
finally found it. All right, so I hope you can see we have a poll up. What would you most like to simplify this holiday season? And so you can have one, you get to select one. Okay. All right, so gift giving came up as the top item to simplify, with spending as second, activities as third, and decorations as fourth. And interesting, food was not taken off our enjoyment table here. So thank you for participating. And so we would just like one more, oops, excuse me. Oh, here's the results, sorry. So to end our session today, to just take one more time to do a little reflection. If the only requirement is that it fills you with joy and peace, what is your vision of a deeply satisfying holiday celebration this year? And through that, you know, a goal you have for this coming celebration is, and how would you make that goal a reality? What would you do? And if you would be willing to share, that'd be great. But again, I understand this, you might want to keep this to yourself. So I'll give you a minute to think about that. All right, that was a minute. So somebody had posted being content with the limited time we have with family, to spend more time with children.
Also to slow down and rest.
Slow down and rest. Okay, I missed that one. Okay. Well, we would like to thank you for joining us today, and we hope this helps you start to plan a joyous and simpler holiday season this year. So if you have any questions or comments, you're more than willing to put them in the chat. I believe you can unmute yourself and speak if you would prefer to do that.
Yes, and the recording will be available on the website. And I don't know if Cassidy, do you want to go over that again?
Sure, no problem. So first, we just want to check in, make sure we didn't have any other questions or comments in the chat box. Again, like they said, if you do, feel free to put those in there, or you can always email one of us after the fact as well. We're always here and happy to answer questions. We want to thank Dr. Kish and Joy for taking the time to do this presentation for us today. I am sure many of us learned some ways that we can take some new practices into our own homes this upcoming holiday season. We would encourage you to all complete our survey that we send out after the fact. You will get this in your email following this presentation. Take take the time, fill out that survey, let us know any comments or concerns, or maybe suggestions that we could do for these programs that might make them more beneficial to you. We're happy to hear any suggestions. We do hope that you can join us for the next program in our series, and that one will be Coping with Loss and Loneliness During the Holidays on Wednesday, November 30th at 12:15 p.m. And lastly, if you need any other information or additional resources, please reach out to your local extension agent. If you're not sure where your local office is, you can find it by going to ksre.kstate.edu, and you will be able to hover over your county and find the location of your local office. Again, thank you all for joining us today, and have a great rest of your afternoon.